Chapter 1. Maisie finds Humphrey in the woods. Maisie, stop, wait for me, Terry whined. Come on, Terry, catch up. It's the first day of arrival and I want to go and explore, said Maisie, slightly annoyed. Terry Tumble was a rather short, round-faced fairy with pale pink cheeks and long, pointed ears. He was slow to the overindulgence of his mother's home-cooked dumplings. This meant he was now wheezing along, desperately trying to keep up with Maisie and her bounds of endless energy. Maisie, in contrast, was straight as a pole, with twig-like arms, pale cheeks, a button nose, and copper and red hair, which she tended to cut and chop at when it got in her eyes, to the frustration and annoyance of her mother. Maisie had to stop again, looked around and grumbled at Terry's slow pace. Come on, Terry, otherwise I'll leave you behind and explore on my own. Maisie, your mum said you have to stay with me, and under no circumstances are you to go too far from the village. And is that your sister's crook on your belt? Does Marcia know you've taken it? Terry said with an emphasis on the word taken, which meant Maisie took it again without her sister's knowing. The utility belt is very important to each Yabbahoni. It's awarded to each one at a special ceremony when they come into their wings, which is generally around the same time as their 13th birthday. This then meant that they can start their training to become caretakers of the wildlife. You're such a stuck in the mud, Terry. I want to go and explore before lessons start. We may never appear here again, and it's the first time we've ever arrived in daylight. And furthermore, Marcia will never know if I'm quick and put it back before her lessons start. Chasing after her, he shouted, Really, Maisie? Do you remember what happened last time you borrowed it? Your dad told you he would ground you for a week if you took it again. Also, the crook isn't linked to you, and it's not going to fully work anyway, Terry sniggered, pleased with himself. Shouting back, she said, I know that, Terry. I just want to get a feel for it before I get my own one. At this rate, you'll be banned from having your own one, and that means you won't be attending the ceremony. It's too late now to change it, Terry. Remember, it's daylight, and it's our first for our village. There's something different this time, and I'm going to find out what. Maisie ran on into the woods, having had enough of Terry's complaining. Oh, Maisie, you're going to get in trouble again, and you're going to take me down with you. But Maisie was no longer listening, so he sighed and followed after her. Maisie needed to explore was her parents' greatest frustration. Ever since she could walk, she would get herself into more and more trouble, like the time she took out the sky owl and was trying to attach a harness to its wings with her mother when her mother caught her and had to explain that the sky owl wasn't designed to carry fairies and that one day she would have her own wings to help her fly. Another time her father caught her about to jump off the roof of their mushroom house with a pair of oak leaves strapped to her back. She explained she was going to try and fly before she got her wings. Malcolm Daisy had a long talk with her that evening on the dangers of falling, but Maisie explained that she would have been okay as she would have landed in the pond if they hadn't worked. At this point, her father reminded her that she couldn't swim. For Mr. and Mrs. Daisy, all of her antics left them so frustrated and worried that they hatched a plan together with Terry's mum, Mrs. Matilda Tumble. Terry was the opposite of Maisie. He had such a lazy attitude, who was forever getting under his mum's feet, always wanting more dumplings, more sleep, and expecting others to pick up after him. The two families got together and agreed that Maisie had to accompany Terry everywhere he went and vice versa. Therefore, making the two stay together would hopefully solve both their problems, making Maisie more careful and at least slower and Terry more active and less under his mother's feet. Running ahead, Maisie was still mumbling to herself about the wisdom of her parents' choice of friend. Why they thought that Terry and she would make good friends was beyond her. She was so deep in her thoughts that she nearly never stopped in time. Looking down, her first instinct was to prod it, but she decided to wait for Terry to catch up. Terry, hurry up. Come over here and look at this. What? What is it? Terry said, slightly out of breath. As Terry peered through the long grass, he found her staring into a hole, and what he saw was a most peculiar sight, for there in front of him was a rather large honeybee lying on its back, its wings out flat, arms straight, upright, and snoring. We'll continue again tomorrow. Thank you for listening.